I was 6 years old when Sam Cooke released his heartfelt song, A Change is Gonna Come. I watched Martin Luther King preach and the dogs in Birmingham. When King was murdered, the kids on the school bus echoed what they'd heard their racist parents say the night before. I was in junior high school when tanks rolled through the streets of Detroit. In high school, when college students were gunned down on campus, first in Kent State, Ohio, and 11 days later at Jackson State College, Mississippi. College for the burning of South Central Los Angeles, as Rodney King pleaded, "Can't we just all get along?" Take a knee, hands up, don't shoot. Say their names. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Tamir Rice, Eric Garner, Philando Castile, Sandra Bland, Michael Brown. Names we'll never know, and too many to be named. The pain arching over 400 years. This is my education. My life lived in the shadow of America's violent history and America's shining promise. The 1963 March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, where 250,000 people heard Mahalia Jackson urge Reverend King to tell them about the dream, Martin. The dream, the promise, the joy streaming down faces who never thought they'd see the day a Black man was elected president. But even then, the fear that they would do something, the terrible something that lies always in wait in my beloved country. The hungry violence with a particular appetite for dark skin. And do something they did indeed. Not the something we feared to say out loud, but the backlash has fallen hard upon us. And even as the deaths have mounted, we know they are only the most horrific way that lives are stolen and dreams deferred. The promise of America never quite fulfilled. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty. Once again, we stand at the intersection of hope and pain. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. We kneel in prayer. We kneel in protest. Once again, we sing. It's been a long time coming, but someday, yes, someday, a change is gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. And may justice be a mighty stream. Amen.
And now it's my turn to read my piece titled Digging in the Wrong Place. You know how it starts? With the chirping. Just a little high-pitched noise. And then another. And another. And you say to yourself, darn it, I bet that's the smoke detector. And then you have to find which one it is in the house. And the noise is intermittent, and you think it's in one room and then you think it's in the other. Well, that happened to me the other day. And I climbed up on a chair and I took out the batteries and I found some new one and I changed the batteries and I stepped off the chair, gave a sigh of relief, and then it chirped again. So I called my husband for help. I'm short and hardly reach the smoke detector even on a chair. He climbed on the chair, rearranged the batteries, closed the cover, stepped down off the chair, and I'm sure you know what happened next. It chirped again. Well, I will fast forward this story to let you know that it involved a trip to the store for more batteries, an attempt to change all of the batteries in all of the smoke detectors in the house, all to no avail. Finally, my husband looked up at the ceiling of the room and noticed another smoke detector in the same room, not even a foot away from the one that we were changing. An older one before the house was remodeled. He took it down, took out the batteries, and the chirping stopped. We were saved. We were free. All was well. It was like that moment in Raiders in the Lost Ark when Indy and Sala realize that the Nazis are digging in the wrong place. So you know I've got a metaphor here for you. Sometimes we can't see what is right in front of us because it doesn't make sense. But once we make sense of it, then it becomes clear. How many things around us are we not seeing? And if we could just open our vision out to some new possibilities, maybe some new solutions would become clear. Can we pull out beyond ourselves, beyond where we live, to truly see the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part? The coronavirus knows no boundaries. It simply seeks to grow and replicate within whatever host it can find. As we face this common enemy, can we find a way for it to bring us together? Can our common humanity and biological imperative to go on as a species inspire us to collectively fight this battle together? Despite our government and the divisiveness of our politics today, I ask myself, what could I be doing to contribute to help find a solution? And the me in all of this, feels very small. But sometimes looking for a solution also requires pulling in. If we are all connected and interdependent, then my ideas, my movements, all have impact. How can I make a difference in a world that has gone a little crazy? There are smoke detectors chirping everywhere, and there are real fires blazing. Fires of hate and fear, fires of inequality and injustice. Fires that have been setting off alarms for ages, that feel as if they will never go out. What can I do in my small way to make a difference? I start by simply asking the questions. What am I not seeing? Can I step back to see more? Can I step closer to see more deeply? In what ways could I be looking in the wrong place? Alfred North Whitehead once said, "Ignorance of ignorance is the death of knowledge." What you don't know can hurt everyone. I'm going to say that again. What you don't know can hurt everyone. And if I am aware that I could be wrong, and you are aware that you could be wrong, then we can start with an openness to the possibility of finding what is right. We open ourselves to the possibilities, to see the opportunities within the challenges, to step outside of our biases and assumptions to consider alternatives. I can start by simply asking the questions, and that is what I am going to do. How about you?
One day, when Isaiah was about 4 years old, and we'd been riding our bikes around our neighborhood in Berkeley for a while, we stopped at the local corner market, and I bought us our usual, a Diet 7-Up and a small bag of sour cream and onion sun chips. And then we sat on the curb in companionable silence, sharing the chips and soda and soaking up the summer sun. Suddenly, peering up at the sky, his forehead wrinkled with a look of intense concentration, Isaiah pondered aloud, "How can we make this world better?" I almost fell off the curb. I was filled with motherly pride, wondering if perhaps I had somehow spawned the next Albert Schweitzer. My kid, not even in elementary school yet, consumed heretofore with dump trucks, diggers, and cranes, was wondering aloud how to make the world a better place. I don't remember what I answered. Not that he was actually asking me. It seemed to clearly be a rhetorical question. But I'm sure I tried to answer it anyway, no doubt with some words about love and taking care of people. Now, 14 years later, the world seems to be at a tipping point, either on the verge of disintegration and collapse, or else a great awakening. I so want to believe it's the awakening that's going to win in the end. I want Isaiah's desire to make the world a better place to have a fighting chance. Seeing the massive turnout of support for the Black Lives Matter movement in the wake of the George Floyd murder, plus a number of recent decisions by the Supreme Court, all give me hope. As does listening to people like Jacqueline Novogratz, a woman who took her Stanford-trained investment banking skills to Rwanda and founded Acumen, a nonprofit venture capital fund which uses entrepreneurial approaches to address human poverty. She's been quietly helping lift people out of poverty for 30 years, all over the planet. She says, what if the golden rule were not do unto others as you would have them do unto you, but rather give to the world more than you take from it? If we move to an ethos that recognizes that we're all part of this together, that we actually do face enormous changes that are going to impact all of us, and we just use that simple moral idea of giving more than we take, the whole world would change. Isaiah begins college in less than a month. He plans to study chemistry with an eye towards working in sustainability. He wants to help save the planet. He'd also like to be a songwriter and a guitarist in a rock band. Who knows where he'll end up? As Jacqueline Novogratz says, you don't plan your purpose, you live your way into it. Change is gonna come. Whether it destroys us or inspires us to build a world of compassion and justice, we can't know yet. I do know that I want future generations to look back on us and say, look how hard they tried, and not, look how blind they were. And as Isaiah lives his way into finding his purpose, I pray that he discovers the joy and satisfaction of giving to the world more than he takes from it.
My 18-year-old daughter gave me a wonderful gift for my recent 60th birthday. Mom, she said, I aspire to be like you when I grow up. I replied, I aspire to be like my mom too, but I don't think I will ever feel like I have achieved that. Mom, she said, I know you feel like you should be a social activist like Grandma, but you have different talents. You are kind, compassionate, and a great listener. How, I marveled aloud, did she know the exact right thing to say to me? She gave me that look, that teenage look, and said, I learned it from you, Mom. I love how active our congregation is in promoting social justice. I come from generations of social activists, so my guilt about my small and intermittent contributions in that arena started long at this church. I care passionately for the future and the marginalized. I want the world to be better. I want my presence in this world to be a net positive. Don't we all? Yet, social activism speaks to my intellect and not my soul. In these days, when social activism is showing its relevance and power for change, what about those of us who don't have the time, energy, or inclination to go out and agitate for a different world? What do we have to offer? Can we make any kind of difference by our mere presence in this world? Marianne Williamson, in this quote, often attributed to Nelson Mandela, has an answer. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond the measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small doesn't serve the world. What if I follow Williamson's advice? What if I really own who I am? What if I deeply embrace my kind and compassionate nature? Can I contribute to change that way? My daughter, who continually holds up a mirror to who I am, told me recently that according to my mother, I'm the kindest of her 5 children. Really? I thought. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that the evidence has been in front of me all my life, and I ignored or misinterpreted it. For instance, when I was voted by my fellow college freshmen as the most likely to have 10 kids and a mop, I was insulted, in spite of assurances that it was a compliment. It has taken over 40 years to realize they were recognizing something in me I was unable to see. I was flooded with memories of events going back to my childhood that were evidence that others recognized a kindness in myself that I didn't acknowledge. I know that I help and influence others because they tell me. I've just been ignoring their messages. I think I've been devaluing my innate kindness because it is easy for me. It doesn't require thought or effort. It is just who I am. Now, I'm not saying that one has to choose. There is no doubt that this congregation is filled with kind, compassionate social activists. Nor am I saying that I am always kind and thoughtful. But just as the arc of the universe bends towards justice, my arc bends towards kindness. Marianne Williamson's quote goes on. She says, "We are all meant to shine. As we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others." Holy cow, liberate myself from fear? Let my light shine? This is not for the faint of heart, especially for someone like me who spent my life hiding and not drawing attention to myself. But Marianne Williamson is right. There is power in embracing who I am and the gifts I bring to the world, instead of lamenting who I am not. Why do I still wonder if I am a force for positive change in this world? To paraphrase Marianne, who am I to devalue myself? Why shouldn't I believe that I am brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Think of how much good I could do if I saw my kindness and compassion as my gift and fully embraced it. I ask you, what are your gifts? Maybe you are like me and don't recognize or value them in yourself. Maybe you are like me and are living small instead of large. Undoubtedly, like me, you are making the world a better place just by being you.